Hello and welcome to my review of The Daughters of Izdihar by Hadeer Elsbai. I'm going to start off this with a quick overview of what the book is about. I tried to do this myself, but somebody on Goodreads did this a lot better. So this book is an Egyptian-inspired fantasy that follows two different women from two different classes in society. Nehal is a spoiled socialite who is forced into an arranged marriage, and Giorgina is a poor worker who is secretly part of a women's suffrage movement. They are both weavers, so in this world, elemental magic is at the core of it, but they both have different perspective of them internally. So Nehal is very comfortable in using her weaving and finds it as an extension of herself, whereas Giorgina tends to keep it bottled in and inside her and really hates that aspect of her life. Both of these girlies live completely different lives, but when Nehal is forced into her arranged marriage with Nico and decides to join the Daughters of Izdihar, which is the secret suffrage movement, but not so secret, then their lives are irreversibly intertwined and changed forever. So that's a quick little overview of what this book is. So the reviewer that actually left that introduction was Raquel Flockhart on Goodreads. I've linked their actual review down in the description if you want to see what they have to say on this. So let's get into the actual review. Okay, let's start off with the world building. So I'm in two minds about this. On one hand, it was really beautiful and kind of unlike anything I've read before. So I loved the subtle inclusions of the culture and the lack of translation. Like, I'm happy that the author didn't translate the words for the items that she was talking about and just said them as they were. But that being said, I think the magic system could have been way more developed than it actually was. We don't really get any history or backstory as to the weaving world and why some people have the powers, why some people don't, why there is such a stigma against the weavers, and equally why the weavers just haven't overthrown the government because they can literally control the elements. Like, I had enough to go on for the story to make sense, but I just would have loved like a lot more. And equally, when it comes to the world building, I want to say the way that it's written is geared towards people that probably don't really know Egyptian culture rather than Egyptian people or those who are more familiar with the culture, because few of the reviews on Goodreads were displeased with the representation that the author decided to use and said it was quite stereotypical. For example, there are different groups and types of people within this society, select factions. One of them is the Telianis, and I just thought that was a made-up word because, again, I have absolutely no experience of Egyptian culture, and it turns out it's actually a direct translation for Italy, Italians, that sort of thing, and it is referencing a fair-skinned, blonde, blue-eyed male character who acts as the saviour. So you kind of got a white saviour trope there amongst all these peasant ethnic people, and it's like, do we really want to be promoting that image? Anyway, so the world building is kind of a bit straight down the line. It was quite good in some parts, not so great in others. Definitely could have done and benefited with more. But this is a debut, so the writing is only going to get better. So, the feminist angle. Again, two schools of thought here. One, why are we still having the same old feminist, oppressed female, oppressive man argument, angle and theme in these books? Can we not have a different topic that we kind of go, by all means, go with the feminism, but can we not address a different element? But equally, oppression is still so prevalent that we must still talk about it because it hasn't gone anywhere. All of these problems are still everywhere, especially in certain cultures around the world. They rear their ugly heads a lot more than others. So, you know, there's two sides there, but equally this is a fantasy, so you can do whatever you want with it. And I'm not gonna lie, it did get a little bit tiresome towards the end because the whole book is literally, oh my god, I am so oppressed, what am I gonna do about it? Oh my god, I can't do this because my husband has to sign for it, what am I gonna do about it? So it just get a little bit too much. That being said, I really enjoyed the feeling of sisterhood between the Daughters of Izdihar. So the daughters are what this political feminist group is called. And there is a real sisterhood and camaraderie between them all. And I also enjoyed the range of female perspectives that the author decided to include. So on one hand, you've got this displeased, willing for change faction of society, and then on the other hand, you've got these ladies that are pretty content with how the status quo is. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't care if they need to vote. They don't care about anything. They're just living their life. So moving on to the plot. I genuinely think it could have been a bit better. It was just oppression, rinse and repeat. So I really loved the overall concept and kind of the subplot that comes to forth a little bit, but it was just oppress, rinse, oppress, repeat. And it was just a bit like, come on now. There wasn't enough badass feminist fighting the patriarchy action for me. And equally, there wasn't even enough like magic school stuff for me. It was all very up here, and the author could have gone so much more underneath. Characters. So we'll start off with Nehal. She is a spoiled brat, but we love it, okay? She is so delulu in her privilege that it's actually great. So she has grown up in a very affluent household, and the only reason she's been forced into this arranged marriage is because her dad has some gambling debts that her dowry or something like that is just going to pay off. The book needed a character like her to drive it forward, because she was oftentimes the one making all the rash decisions that led on to different events. I am generally quite interested to see how she develops in her power, because she was quite comfortable in her weaving and her ability to bend water, and got like really into some scary dark magic shit in the end, but it was very cool, and I'm really interested to see how that goes. Giorgina, on the other hand, is the complete opposite, and she did annoy me a little bit. But she represents the type of woman that is really eager to make a change, and she wants to fight and she wants to act, but they don't have the arrogance of the freedom that money allows them to do so. So they have to be a lot more careful with how they conduct themselves and what activities they do. She really flourishes at the end, so give her some chance. And I do like how she ends up and what becomes of her. Generally, I think I really enjoyed the dynamics between all the characters. Even though they were all quite surface level, I was enjoying the discourse between them all. The main thing that I didn't like when it came to the characters was the romance. Now, I was really here for a sapphic romance, but Nehal and Malik just didn't hit me. It was so underdeveloped and just not really given much chance to build up into something to then flourish into something else. Like, I didn't really care for them, or if one of them got arrested, or if any one of them got hurt. I wasn't really bothered. Like, for the other one, I didn't feel the heartbreak. I didn't feel the longing either. I have to say, this was not bad, but it just wasn't really what I was anticipating it to be. It was given more YA than kind of adult fantasy, that's for sure. It needed a lot more eloquence and depth to build out the world a little bit. And you know what? It's just an easy holiday read. Like, I would say it is a solid, like, 3 out of 5. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like, compared to City of Brass, which I would compare because a non-Eurocentric fantasy world, that one is incomparable, right? Like, the world building in that is so in-depth, and the character dynamics are just crazy. So yeah, it was an alright read. I'm not mad that I read it or sad that I read it, but it was alright. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!